Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to talk movies and dish up some movie news. And this week, of course, is no departure from our tried and true methodology. I am joined by some wonderful folks. Please say hello to Jim Puliafco. Welcome back, babe.
Thanks, and welcome to the podcast. I'm not probably the most wonderful guy on here, but we'll see.
Well, you count pretty high among them for me, but everybody,
Brad
I may be a little biased.
He has to say I'm wonderful.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, but I mean it anyway. Even if you didn't put a ring on it, I'd probably still feel very positively about you, Jim. So there you go.
I'll put my
Will Lindis is here too. Welcome, Will. Hey
there, listeners. You know, Brad, knowing me, knowing you, this is going to be a damn good show. Yep.
Oh,
we're doing this.
Oh goodness, the ABBA puns have begun. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. If it gets too crazy, we'll just sound an SOS and maybe we'll get some help. That wasn't as good. Will. I'm trying. You probably had that one planned, maybe.
No. That one came off the cuff, but the next one's like I'm already looking at the song list now for the next.
As Jim Googles ABBA song titles.
Does your mother know you tell puns like that?
Waterloo. Is there something there? I don't know.
You just heard from our special guest of the week, who we are so excited to have with us for the very first non-comic book movie review. Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast is here to talk all things ABBA, Mamma Mia, and maybe even some superhero stuff coming out of Comic-Con. I don't know. But Bill Z, how the hell are you? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Can you guys see me? I can't see myself. So am I centered or am I pulling like a Michelle Bachmann thing? Like not looking the right way?
You're centered and pulling this hot silver daddy thing. Is that the goal?
Oh, okay.
But say, trust us, we can see you.
Okay. And I don't know if it's apologies or, here you go, but I'm a bit scruffy just trying something else out. So
you're on a bear podcast. Yeah. You're on a bear podcast. I think you're okay, Bill.
I think if I can't make it fly here, when can I?
That's like... I think it's not even a question. Hey, we've got some comments in the live chat already. Jordan Riley says, "Hey, Bears, yay, Bill is back." And Jordan says that, Jim, you're in his top Bears. So there you go. You got two votes. Steve Zuzza says, "Ooh, Bill." Wow. He says, "We definitely see you, Bill." So there you go. Well, guys, we've got a few folks who've hopped on to the live broadcast who have not commented in chat. For all of you out there in live listener land, be sure to say hello. And as we're talking about Mamma Mia, here we go again, our topic of the week. Feel free to drop your thoughts on the film in that live chat. We're also going to be dishing up a little bit of reactionary talk in regards to some of the trailers coming out of Comic-Con, and we'd love to know your thoughts on those as well. So be sure to drop those in the live chat. If you're listening through the magic of digital tape delay through iTunes, Stitcher, your favorite podcast app, whatever that may be, we would still love to hear from you. So hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Find us, pin us down, talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. But guys, we got a big show this week. Are we ready to jump in to our San Diego Comic-Con trailer roundup discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Such an enthusiastic yes, let's do it. Okay.
Yeah.
This is my NPR voice. This is excited as I can sound. All right. Well, let's go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off. Guys, we are going to start off with the new trailer for Godzilla King of the Monsters. Jim, I know that you are the hugest Godzilla fan I know. I mean, I'm a pretty big fan too, but your fandom surpasses mine. How excited were you, Jim, to see this trailer come out? What's your thinking? What are your thoughts?
I was a little concerned with the movie at first. I had heard that they were gonna kind of expand this monster universe by adding some of the known Godzilla monsters into it. Put it this way, I was mildly excited before I saw the trailer, and now I'm super excited. This trailer, to me, was probably one of the best big movie trailers I've seen in a long time. The way they did this was fantastic. I mean, the cast looks great. I mean, we've got Millie Bobby Brown, as not everybody, but a lot of people know from Stranger Things. We've got Vera Farmiga from Bates Motel and just about everything else under the sun in the last couple of years. I love
Norman.
Her. Right. And of course, we got the big G-Man, Godzilla. We get glimpses of some of the other monsters in the universe that are going to be in this movie. We don't fully know kind of how the plot is going to go down yet, really. But we've got Mothra in here, right? We've got the appearance of Mothra in the trailer. We've got the appearance of Rodan in the trailer. We've got the appearance of King Ghidorah, or however you want to pronounce it these days in the trailer. So we've got at least, 3 other monsters joining Godzilla. We don't know who's going to be against who. We don't know if it's all monsters against something else. We've got Monarch running the show here. Also, I just loved everything about this trailer. I like that they're getting back to and those of us who watch Godzilla movies know that, Godzilla versus, kind of as a protector, kind of a force of nature and a protector of Earth and things like that is a theme that runs through not all, but many of the Godzilla movies. It's not just monster against monster. It seems like there's some of that folded into this movie because you hear Vera Farmiga say, we are the infection. We are on the verge of extinction. There's an extinction event. All that stuff really gets me excited for what could be the plot of this movie. I also like that each monster they show, and this is just all in the trailer, each monster seems to have like a theme or a kind of a I don't know, like an effect that goes with them, like kind of their, Godzilla's got the atomic breath, right, and he's huge. Mothra seems to be more graceful, and her power has something to do, I think, with light and light beams or whatever. You got Rodan, he's kind of like a fire dragon. And then you've got King Ghidorah, who's like shoots the lightning and creates storms and all kinds of stuff. So all that stuff coming together, I'm super excited. I love the flow of this trailer from beginning to end, how it kind of picks up in momentum as it goes along. I'm really excited. I hope the movie's going to give me the same kind of feeling when the movie's over. But what'd you guys think?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. If there was an Oscars of trailers, there probably is some award show for trailers somewhere. Probably. This one would definitely be a nomination for me because I think that this captured everything that you really want out of this type of movie. The human element is an important part of Godzilla, and you want to make sure that it's done well, and it looks like it's done well here. Like, these are very compelling looking characters on a very compelling journey. Got double bill, and I'm loving that.
On the double bill.
for those of you who can't see the screen right now, Bill, I think you must have frozen and dropped out or something because you came back in.
No, I got the Internet Explorer has stopped working prompt and rejoined, so I guess there's two of me.
Bill and Phil Zanowitz.
Well, it's so funny. I just took a screen cap because like there's you smiling and there's you frowning. I think when it's freezing. It's the best thing ever. Anyway, so Will, it sounds like you really liked this trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying, the human element I think is very, very transparent here, and it looks good. Like it looks like all of these characters are going to go on a pretty interesting journey. You get to see that environmental message, which is woven so tightly into the DNA of Godzilla. You get to see some really cool looking monsters and a lot of them. And the whole trailer is pulled together with this wonderful score that just really catapults it through. I'm absolutely in love with this. I did see some people on Twitter who I actually saw people saying, "Ugh, why do they have to mix Godzilla with like political environmental stuff?" And it's like, have you not been paying attention to any Godzilla movie ever? Right. No, I was lower on the last movie. Well, I was going to say the last Godzilla movie, but I guess that we had the Toho one, Shin Godzilla, which was stronger. But the last one in this franchise, I was a little lower on that one. I feel like this one, at least from the trailer, it looks like it's corrected the things that I had issues with. So, of the ones we're talking about, you know, I'm gonna reveal my hand here. This is the one I'm actually most excited about, just based on the trailer.
Wow,
cool. I have to say, as much as I enjoy like 60s kaiju, I have not seen any of the current Godzilla films. And it's not that I have an opposition to it, I just haven't gotten around to it. And this movie made me very excited. I mean, Mothra is kind of a ridiculous design to begin with, but when you see her spread her wings, my God, it's majestic. And I can see myself doing some rentals pretty soon on these, because how many films have there been? There's been the Godzilla and then the Kong.
Well, in this franchise, it's just Godzilla that came out a few years back. Okay. And then there was a Kong movie that came out. Oh, Jim's showing us his Mothra. Nice. So that's it. So you got to sing the song, Jim.
Oh no!
I didn't see Godzilla in this trailer, though, and that was a problem.
Yeah. So, Bill, you've only got a couple of movies. I mean, really just one, though, because, I mean, as far as we know, Kong isn't in the new movie. That's being saved for...
They just haven't lined up yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unless they're keeping something out of the trailers, like which very well could be the case as well. But yeah, worst case scenario, you have to watch 2 movies. Best case scenario, 1. So catch up on this one's not going to be too hard.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited as well. Bill, I'm right there with you. When we saw Mothra spread her wings, I totally had like a kaiju heart on, and I was like, "Oh my God, Mothra!" So I'm super pumped. I cannot wait for this film to come out, and you know, Millie Bobby Brown, you know, great to have her here as well. But guys, we got some other trailers to discuss. And we're already halfway through our trailer roundup segment. How do we feel about moving on to the next one? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to be transparent before I brought up Glass. I know. That's pretty terrible. So, Will, I know you were a big fan of Split, if I remember correctly. And spoiler alert for Split, but we found out that was a film that was sort of relaunching this Unbreakable franchise. Will, what were your thoughts on this trailer? I mean, did this excite you coming out of Split? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't help but spoil those last 2 movies a little bit, just be the nature of this movie even existing. And there's no way around that. This is the 3rd part of a trilogy, which goes from Unbreakable, which was M. Night Shyamalan's movie in 2000, I believe, followed by Split, which is the one he did with James McAvoy a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. And then this one, Glass, which features those characters all mashed together into one sort of super heroic, super villainous team up type thing. And at the end of Split, I was super excited for this particular film. I still am. I think that this is a perfectly fine trailer. I'm excited for the movie. I'm excited to see this world that they've created is a world where like super heroic and super villainous stuff is only starting to exist and only in the most muted of ways possible. Like you don't have like the equivalent of like your Supermans and your Batmans or your X-Men, your Spider-Man. You don't have anything like that. You really have just a very, very limited number of these people with kind of explain-awayable type abilities. I'm interested in seeing how this works. I thought Unbreakable and Split were both two of Shyamalan's better films, and so I'm excited to see this third one. I love this cast. I love that from the trailer we get to see that Anya Taylor-Joy, who is one of the other, the other lead in Split, that she's back. She's absolutely on fire right now, just turning in like solid performance after solid performance with Thoroughbreds earlier in the year, and of course The Witch from last year. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm gonna have to wait until early 2019. It doesn't come out until like January, but yeah, sign me up for this one. In fact, coming into these trailers, this is the one I probably would have been the most excited for if that Godzilla trailer just wasn't just so freaking well put together.
Yeah, I mean, I like the trailer too. This one much different in the structure of this trailer is pretty simple. You're basically learning that the three characters, Mr. Glass, help me out, guys. Mr. Glass,
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis' character,
David Dunn,
and what was his name? James McAvoy's character. I forget.
Well, he had like 8 names, so I don't remember.
He
landed on there.
Let's just call him the Beast.
We'll call him Sybil.
The Beast. Yeah, the Beast makes sense. Yeah.
Beast. Yeah. And you kind of learn a little bit, kind of each character gets a segment of the trailer, and you kind of see, they're a little bit about them coming in here. You don't really get to see much, if any, of what the plot is going to be, which is good. So there's really I don't think there's any spoilers. If this is as far as you go in trailers for this movie, you're certainly not going to be spoiled, but I like the idea of this becoming a trilogy or being a trilogy and getting maybe wrapped up in this last movie. We definitely like Split. So yeah, I'm excited for the movie.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are excited because I am too. And I was a little afraid that coming off of Split, which was so great, that now, shoehorning these other two characters on top of a character who has so many characters inside might be a bit of a weird thing. But at least from the trailer, I'm digging kind of the setup there. Looks like they're in a mental hospital or something. And, they are believed to have delusions of grandeur, and they're not really superheroes. And I assume we're going to find out, of course, that, obviously all is not as it seems and all hell's going to break loose. So I'm pumped. Can't wait to see how this shakes out, but got a little bit of a wait. Unfortunately, we can't have everything now.
For both these.
Why,
movies,
Brad?
right?
Why can't they all come out this week?
Why?
Because then we wouldn't have anything else to look forward to. Like, we'd have like all of Oscar season, all the superhero movies, all of everything out in 1 week. What the fuck are you going to do the rest of the year?
Actually, that's a really good point. Since this comes out in January, which is usually like the beginning of the dumping grounds for like bad movies, like this is actually a good thing that it's placed there.
Well, Split was a January movie, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I think it was.
Okay. Yep. Yep. So as long as it's better than I, Frankenstein, which was also a January movie, I will be okay. I will be fine.
This one very well might be a Fantastic Fest movie this year because that's where Split did its world premiere. So I'm hoping they are able to do that again because anything I can do to see this as soon as possible
would be great. Well, we've got one more trailer we want to discuss. And Bill Z, I know we're super excited to have you on the show where we're not talking about comic book movies. We're going to be reviewing Mamma Mia. Here we go again. But the timing just worked out, Bill. I know.
Just as I get out, they pull me back in. Yeah. Well, can I just say something about Split? before we move over to the trailer I'm going to talk about? I actually did not know. I haven't seen Split, but I really, really enjoyed Unbreakable. And I didn't know about the reveal at the end of the movie. I didn't know anything about Split, about the storyline of Split, apart from it being, a horror film with a multiple personality dude at the center of it. So is it? It was just like an end of the film reveal, right?
It was just a stinger type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have blown your mind then. God.
Oh my God.
Okay. Well, the personality thing was throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the screening I saw, you see Bruce Willis appear on screen, and then because it was at the festival screening, the audience starts going wild, and then they march M. Night Shyamalan out in front of us, and so it was just one of those like, what the fuck is happening? And everyone's like, "You gotta ask questions about exactly this." It was this you don't see very often. It was crazy.
It's going to be interesting to see how this trilogy wraps up. But so the last film we're going to talk about, the last trailer, is for Aquaman. How could we not talk about Aquaman with you on the show, Bill? I was curious, as probably the biggest, most knowledgeable comic person in the universe that I know. Will, your knowledge is pretty high, but I think Bill takes it up to even another level. Bill, what did you think of the Aquaman trailer? Did it make you excited for this film coming off of Justice League? What do you think?
Okay, my initial reaction to the Aquaman trailer was, whew, because you kind of got scared where we're at a point where we're only, 6 months away from the film? It's December 2000, December 21st, yeah. And we've seen nothing until, stills like a week and a half ago in Entertainment Weekly. There's just been very few leaks, and, that they didn't even provide a teaser trailer, for the springtime you get worried. And I think my worry was unsubstantiated because I thought the film looked great from what we saw. I thought they were very pinpointed in what they hit with the film. We have it starts off with you see, this is like the bad comic book thing, because I tend to refer to the characters by their first name. And
Arthur?
Yeah, so I'm like, Arthur. Yeah, it's like, the hell's Arthur? But you have Aquaman.
Wait, there's a guy named Arthur in there?
Yeah. So the trailer begins with Aquaman's father Tom and his Atlantean mother Ilana meeting, and in rapid succession, you go through seeing him as a kid in an aquarium. They have a really clever, I thought, take on Aquaman. He talks to fish, and it kind of just really threw that back at you for people who
that was cool.
Was the funniest joke in the world. Cool. We see Aquaman battling pirates. We see Mira looking for him to inform him that Orm, they both fit, has taken over Atlantis, and Aquaman is really needs to get back down there. He's never been a part of that, a part of that world, but lives in both, and they made that abundantly clear within the trailer, to challenge him for the crown. And we see duels. We see the reaction of Atlanteans. We see this amazing world that they've set up. They have underwater movement that looks legitimate. We see different creatures. We see different realms, like the fishermen kingdoms of Atlantis, the brine. You see the trench, which are these like really creepy, fish guys with like razor teeth, and they become a cannibalistic society. Well, you don't need to know all that. Mm-hmm. You're gonna find that out in the movie. But I thought it covered a lot of ground. I know that Bro Aquaman probably isn't to everybody's taste, but I think Jason Momoa, as the kind of personality, just has that vibe of someone who thinks he's funnier than he is, and on him it works. And I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited about the film. It might be a total Green Lantern bust. They may have just thrown the best bits at us, but
Right.
I am very encouraged, particularly by the look of Atlantis and the look of the sea creatures and the creatures in battle. I wasn't necessarily expecting a war film, and it looks like that's going to be a substantial part of that. So I was very happy with that. I was very happy with Shazam too. There was a ton of trailers we can't talk about just because of time. But I was very happy with Aquaman.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Aquaman in animated cartoons as a kid. Didn't read the comics, but and I'm watching this trailer. I'm like, oh, they made this look really cool. Like, I'm really interested. They caught me with that scene at the aquarium when he was a kid, and of course, I'm thinking the Meg trailer right at the same time. It's like, oh man, it's amazing how they both came out at the same time.
It's Megalodon.
Yeah. But I this film I think has a tall task in front of it, right? Absolutely. In terms of the box office. They're trying to introduce this kind of, well, I'll say new character, but kind of his standalone story.
Yeah.
In a world that I don't know, like, if interest in a undersea realm or the undersea realms is going to capture, new viewers' attentions now, like maybe it did when it first came out. So I think a lot of it is going to rest on the shoulders of Jason Momoa. And from what I saw in the in his charisma, and what I saw in the trailer is that, I'm hopeful for him to carry it off. I like the guy. I think it looks like from the bits we get in the trailer that he kind of is playing the character with an attitude that I think people can connect with. You know what I mean? And so I think it's going to come down to that. I think that's what it's going to depend on. And we'll see how the movie does at the box office and everything. But I'm pulling for it to be good. I want an enjoyable time at the movies. Lord knows that they need something, something to kind of gain some ground. But yeah, I think it looks, to me, it looks interesting. I'm definitely interested in seeing it.
So I'm excited too for all the reasons you guys mentioned. Bill, you had said something though about the movement underwater looking realistic, which I also caught and I loved. But one thing did bug me when they're underwater talking to each other. It sounds like just you're talking to each other like in a room, like not through water. I don't know if I'm expecting it to have like a gurgle sound or something to it, but like I thought maybe they'd modulate it somehow, like to indicate they're speaking underwater. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because we had in the Justice League movie, I think, didn't they actually do a thing where they had to put a bubble around someone just so they could talk?
Yeah, when Mira came to Arthur.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, that was one scene in that one movie, and this is an entire movie of, like, I don't know, it might be a little, like, I'm with you, Brad, because that was my first thought, but also at the same time, I'm like, but do I want to listen to a whole movie that's like...
Right.
Right. And so I actually hand waved it away. I'm just like, maybe they all have a little bit of telepathy, and they're all just like, sort of like, it's like projecting thoughts while also moving their lips, whatever, You mentioned the underwater stuff, and I think that's the big selling point for me. I think especially the background shots looked like a painting at times. Like when you looked back there was just a lot of like beautiful, vibrant stuff happening. And so I'm very interested in that. I'm reserving judgment on Bro Arthur himself. I was going into Justice League. I thought Jason Momoa is perfectly cast for this version of it. I walked out of Justice League way less excited, and that is dampening my expectations a little bit here. But I also realized that I think the issues with him and that character in Justice League had nothing to do with Jason Momoa, and I think they had to do with the script that he had to work with. And so that's not going to be the issue here. For the most part, all of the creatures looked pretty good. Although there was one that looked like the shark that's in the tank at the very beginning looked really rough. And which was disappointing because everything else looked so sharp in this trailer comparatively. It was just like, I was like, and maybe it's just because we've been seeing so many like shark movies coming out, like the Meg or something like that. I was just like, yeah, I could have upped that, especially because it's like it's in the middle of the frame. It's not just in the background, and it was like, it looked like a computer shark. But I do wonder, why is this a December release? Like, that's
what I'm thinking too. It seems that Black Panther provided a template. I don't think Black Panther's success is only due to the societal issues.
Right.
It also had zero competition. And February seems to be, it does seem to me that people are going to come out for superhero movies no matter what.
Sure.
Or at least enough of an audience that would make it seem plausible to release. Why it is a December and not a late January, early February release is beyond me, especially since if you look, at Box Office Mojo or whatever, there's nothing there for months.
I mean, I would even go as far as to say that, like, if I'm sitting there, like, I'm thinking about myself as a consumer, and I think about, like, it being, even in Texas where I live, like, December is a cold month, comparatively, it's obviously it's not like in the negative 20s or whatever, but it's like, it's a bundle up and go into the movies. And this is like a shirtless dude on the beach movie. Like, I feel like this would be a fucking hell of a July release, just in terms of like getting me pumped for like seeing like aquatic, beachy, like stuff like that. Like, it's I feel like there's some tie-in stuff there. But I think you are right. Like, they could release this thing, any of these superhero movies can be released on practically any day of the year, and as long as they don't have direct competition from another one of these superhero movies at the same time, they're gonna do well enough.
I just want to see fish people riding sharks with saddles. That's all. And I'll be good. Well, maybe I expect a little more than that. But that did look fun in the trailer. I guess we'll see come December how this shakes out. Steve in the chat says, everyone always hates on Aquaman and says that he's the worst member of the Justice League. We'll have to see how this plays out. DC is known for killer trailers for mediocre movies. That's probably a whole nother conversation in and of itself. But at least, we've only got 6 months. No, 5 months. I can't do math to find out on this one. So we will see. Well, guys, we got a whole film to talk about. I know there's like 8 other trailers that we could probably discuss, but I do want to make sure we have time for our full review of Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Is it that time? Are you ready to get your group singing hats on and go to a little town in coastal Greece?
Yeah, let's go to the island of, what is the island?
Something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nailed it.
Oh, goodness. Well, listen, if you are new to our format, you may not be aware of this, but we talk about films completely spoiler-free for about the first 15 minutes or so. And unlike other podcasts who are like, we're not going to spoil this film, don't worry, and then they spoil the fuck out of it, we don't do that. So not to worry, you're safe. If you haven't seen it yet, you're curious if it's worth checking out, if you want to know what we think, we will protect your virginal innocence, fret not, and we'll give plenty of fair warning before we open things up to spoilers. So feel free to hang out with us. But guys, here we go. Our discussion of Mamma Mia. Here we go again. All right. So I had never seen the first Mamma Mia film until I met a certain guy on this podcast who I figured might be a logical choice to kick this movie off for us, that being Jim Pugliafico. Jim, I know you were a fan of the first movie because we watched it together. I'm really curious to maybe hear you share some spoiler-free thoughts, what your reaction was seeing this in the theater. Where did you come down on this one?
Refresh my memory. Did we see this in a movie theater or at home? Did we rent it or something? Do you remember?
Oh, the first one?
Yeah. Because, this is a 2008 film.
Yeah,
which shocked the hell out of me. Like 2008, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was 10 years.
Yep, we watched it on VOD.
Oh, okay, VOD. All right, that makes sense. I do remember seeing it in a theater, but man, I would, like I said, I was surprised when I saw it was 2008. It seems like it was just like, 5 years ago or something, but 10 is crazy. Anyway, so we're back to, this is another jukebox musical like the first one, right? Jukebox musical being, movies that feature a lot of, songs from either the time or a certain group. But this one definitely has a lot of ABBA songs in it, just like the first one did. This one has a lot of different ABBA songs than the first one. Then we're in the first one, which was good because I think it was a little bit of exposure for some songs that may not be kind of like the hits. But they seem to work well in the film. The movie itself is both a prequel and a sequel, acts as kind of a prequel and a sequel.
Much like Godfather Part 2.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So
I was trying to think of films that are simultaneously prequels and sequels, and that's the only one I can come up with. And I know there's more.
Right. So and there may be
it's just like The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, there's your comparison. This film has a lot of DNA with Godfather Part 2. But this one stars, so it's got a lot of the cast from the first movie. It's got, Julie Walters, Pierce Brosnan, Dominic Cooper, Amanda Seyfried, Colin Firth, Stellan Skarsgård. And then it's got a few new people in here. We've got Lily James comes in, who
Cinderella.
We'll talk about that. I loved Lily James in this, but we'll get to that a little bit more. Meryl Streep does show up in this, and also, as we see in the trailer, Cher is also in this one. We'll talk about her appearance in the movie too, and her character and so forth. This one was, for me, this one was just as fun as the first one. It doesn't really have, where the first one had kind of a plot to it, where, kind of the central mystery. This one kind of continues that central mystery, and some of the elements that were driving the plot. But this one is more of a, it's told it a lot in flashbacks. There's not much that actually goes on in the present day other than they're planning a big party, and we're going to have a big party. But most of the interesting parts of the film, anyway, to me, happen in the flashbacks of this movie. So, and it does take place several years after the events of the first movie. I think they said 5 years between the events of the first movie and this movie. This one is enjoyable. It's a lot of fun, just like the first one. ABBA songs are great. They fit the songs are selected so they kind of fit what's going on in the story at the time. And you could tell the cast is having a lot of fun, which I think comes across on the screen, and that makes it more enjoyable. We'll talk about Cher's appearance. I have mixed feelings about that. Her appearance in the movie. Maybe we'll talk about it more in spoilers when we talk about who her character is and what she means to the story and how she's kind of hooked into this story. But yeah, I'd say this is a movie that people should go see. They should see the first one, and they should see this one. This is just kind of non-heavy romantic comedy, family, a little bit of family drama comedy in there. Just a really good story. I enjoy both of these movies probably equally.
All right. So a big win from Jim, it sounds like. Bill, you specifically mentioned this film as a possibility for coming back on the show. So I'm dying to hear your thoughts as well. Where did you fall on Mamma Mia? Here we go.
A little background. I hate the first movie. I absolutely hate it.
Okay.
I looked at old Live Journal posts for what my thoughts were, and there was one that just said it's too gooey. I like the stage show.
Yeah.
Jukebox musicals are,
Can
sometimes
be good, can be
there's
terrible.
weight to them, like Jersey Boys, and sometimes they're all fluff. The stage version of Mamma Mia, I think, had a very nice balance. But the first film didn't work for me. Amanda Seyfried, I can't stand her. The only movie she's impressed me in has been Lovelace. When she was in that first movie with the ... I wanted to hit her in the face with the bottom of a rotary phone. I find her to be like it's a visceral reaction.
By the way, guys, for those of you who don't know what rotary phones are anymore, the bottom of a rotary phone is the heaviest part of the phone. There you go.
Also, we don't advocate violence against anybody, but if you're gonna,
she never did anything to us. But
if you're gonna do it, you might as well use a rotary phone.
You have favorites and you have non-favorites. Let's just put it that way. But I was telling you guys when we were off air the last time I was on, naturally talking about a comic book show, that I'm in a strange situation where I really want to see the sequel to a film I hated. That I somehow wanted to know what happened to these characters and where they were. And I am very, very pleased to say I enjoyed this movie. It's, we'll get into it in spoilers, but there are some circumstances within the narrative of the film where there's a bit more weight to why people are gathering and some of the goings on. I thought the flashbacks and the action that takes place in the current day, I thought there was some really nice alignment. I think for Lily James, this is until a certain character comes on, which we'll talk about, it's her movie for me. I thought she was stunning. Amazing. I think this is a star-making vehicle for her. And I'm with you where, this is, you get some deeper cuts and, and some retreads, there are some songs from the first film that are repeated. Mm-hmm. I think in terms of casting, where we do see the younger and older versions of many of the characters, I thought they were right on the money. Especially, this is somebody I've never heard of before. This Jessica Keenan Wynn as Christine Baranski's younger counterpart. Oh my God, right on the money. I thought it was a well-made, fun film. This was gooey as well, but it wasn't as sugary. And I am I'm pleased that I enjoyed this film, because it was frustrating that I didn't enjoy the first film, but it still there's clunks of dialogue. There's some dialogue where you're like, oh, did anybody sound that out to anybody else before they said it? My God. But you're not going to this kind of movie for the script.
Hurry up, Meryl's on set, we got to get this shot. Hurry up.
But even through that, there were some really touching moments in there as well, and I'm very happy to say go see this film. Wow. and you could skip the first one.
I mean, it only sets up a few things for the sequel.
Yeah.
It kind of
just Wikipedia it.
Yeah.
To some degree. Yeah. Well, Bill, I'm glad to hear that, since you didn't like the first one so much.
No,
this was
hated the first. Hated.
All right.
Not quite in Howard the Duck territory, but hated. Yeah.
Wow.
Hates.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. But all right. Well, we got Sue recommends. Let's keep this train going and see where it takes us. Will, how about you?
Yeah, so this movie comes with a lot of baggage, and so those are the types of things that when you're viewing a film and when you're assessing it, you have to be able to sort through all that baggage, right? And so this is a film, like the first film, I had seen the stage production before I'd seen the first film, and my ex, this was one of his absolute favorite movies that he dragged me to this damn thing like 3 or 4 times and was like, and these weren't even like dancing in the aisle screenings, but that's what the audience was doing anyway. It was just like a party. Then the DVD would come out, and honestly, like once or twice a week, this damn thing would be playing, like usually in the background while like chores were being done or something like that. And I always had this thought that the first film was a not good film in that like it's a narrative mess. Like there's some bad performances, there's just some dialogue choices that just don't work, but there's these set piece moments that are remarkably fun, and you can watch while you're doing laundry. You can look over at the screen and see one of those set piece moments and have a good time. And I feel very similarly about the sequel here, because there are, like, if you're just looking at the script or watching it play out on screen, a lot of this film is a retread of the elements of the first one. There's long stretches where nothing new is introduced, just from a different angle. There's spots where there's a parallel between 2 character stories, and sometimes it lines up really great, and sometimes it's kind of a stretch. There's a couple of characters who are included who have absolutely no impact on the plot, and yet are given a lot of screen time at certain parts in the movie, which sort of deflate other people's stories. There's a lot of issues here, but it's got these remarkable moments all the way through them. And a lot of them are the ones that are led by Lily James, where you can watch these sequences and find genuine joy and genuine emotion, and in some cases some pretty heavy like emotional punch too. That it's very okay to just go into this movie and to watch the moments, and to not have to experience the entire thing as this like tightly scripted, well-written thing, because that's not what this thing is going for. That's not what this film is all about. This is the film. I looked over to my right while I was watching this. This mother came in, and she was probably, 10, 20 years older than me, with her daughter. And they were talking beforehand, like she had some surgery recently. She hadn't been able to leave the house in a while, but she had loved the first one.
The movie.
She had watched the first one so many times on repeat that she had to be in the theater to see this one. And the entire movie, I look over, and this woman is just in her seat dancing and just having a good time. And it reminded me of all the joy that I saw people experience with that first one. Like, it doesn't have to be a good movie to be a fun movie. And so I think in that regard, if you were able to find joy in those moments from the first one, I think you're going to see those here. I think this is absolutely a star-making film for Lily James, who she's also on a hot streak, because this is not only is she in Baby Driver from last year as one of the main. She's also
as Baby.
She's also she has a voice line in Sorry to Bother You right now, which is in theaters. No, I think that this is fine. This is a fine movie. I think it's fun. I like the ABBA songs. I like ABBA. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are we okay there?
It's fine to like ABBA.
Because they are. I mean, again, and I come to this thinking about the Broadway show itself, but like, their music is perfectly suited for like the jukebox musical style. Like the stuff, all their songs are about, relationships, and these are movies that are about relationships. It ties very, very closely to, kind of the music pulls very closely into the story. So yeah, not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. I think if you're the type of person that feels predisposed to liking that sort of thing, absolutely go see it. Like there's a lot of joy to be had in this movie.
All right. So that 3 recommends. I guess it's up to me to represent the opposite side of.
No.
I'm just kidding. No, I thought this movie was absolutely awesome. I enjoyed it.
I gotta write that one down.
I enjoyed it on a lot of different levels for a lot of the same reasons you guys already mentioned. So I'll keep it short. 2 specific things I wanted to call out. Bill, you mentioned some of the weight of some of the story beats in conjunction with the music this time around. With the first movie, I felt like it was super shoehorny. Like, oh, here's this song, and let's create a story around that song so we have a reason to use it. Here, there's certainly some of that going on, but like, I think it was just done so much better. Like, for instance, after one of the guys leaves and she is in the restaurant / bar, Lily James starts singing the first few bars of Mamma Mia when she's like just singing by herself with like light piano in the background. She's like, I've been cheated by you. Like, that was just haunting in the trailer. And I was thinking, well, that's probably like the best singing like in the whole movie there's going to be. It's going to suck. And I did not know that she was such a great musical performer. And I think the weight of that moment leading into that song just made it work for me. Like, you know, it's in the trailer, but like when she's like, hit it, girls, and they like jump up on the stage, like it was such a cool, like 180 emotional turnaround for me. And it made me super excited after being like super sad for her. So I thought that was really well done. And there's lots of moments like that in the film. So I was happy to see that. The other thing, it hasn't been mentioned yet, there are so many hot fucking bears in this movie.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So much eye candy. Like, seriously, like it's in the trailer. There's a scene where there's like 8 fucking boats full of people dancing. Yeah. And like, I almost want to go see the movie again.
And like, like I said, like dancing eye candy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I almost want to go see this movie again just to like catch all the hot dancing bears I didn't see the first time. Because if you like furry dudes, if you like bellies, if you like, you know, jiggling bellies, all of that's here for you. So
it was like tea dance. It was like tea dance at P Town Bear Week,
but on a boat, yo.
Yeah. I mean, there was especially as they're like dancing up the pathway. You know what I mean? At the end, that was not at the end, but in the middle, I guess. Yeah.
When that moment that's in the trailer happens, you get to see a lot of that. Yeah.
And I'm like, how did they find all these gay fishermen? Like, it was like, I couldn't figure that out.
And plus, you also have to give a shout out to the Greece customs officer.
Yes.
He was awesome.
Yeah. I want to take a chance on him.
I do.
Gimme a man after midnight that looks like him.
A man in a booth.
Oh boy. Well, this was I think a resounding win for all of us. I have to say, I didn't like the first movie near as much as you did, Jim. But the second one is really a home run for me. I know, roll your eyes at me, whatever. But this one was a home run, so I think that's okay, right? I did have a little bit of an issue with the share thing, so maybe we can start with that since we just gushed for 40 minutes about the movie. Maybe we can start with that and spoilers. But do you guys have any non-spoilers in your hearts that you need to get out before we make the transition?
No. I think the first one is a better script. I think this one has better emotional beats. And so I think it's sort of like, you know, choose your poison, which one you're really looking for out of a film. And I think for me, I think I like the first one a little better, but I liked moments of this one a lot better. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there was some very clunky, as you said, dialogue in the first one, but also a couple of the performances, especially some of the musical performances, just didn't.
Pierce Brosnan
just didn't work. Just didn't really work in that movie, and you know, kind of were the low point, kind of the really low points of that movie. And I don't think this movie had low points that were that low. I mean, even its low points weren't that low.
If anyone's not seeing this because they don't want to see Pierce Brosnan sing again, like they minimize that in this film. So
and it's funny. Well, we'll get into it.
Spoilers, but just let it's they mitigate that concern quite a bit.
Yeah, they heard you. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Just go see the movie. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off then on spoilers. This is the part where I awkwardly ramble for a few moments. If you're listening live and you don't want to be spoiled, on the plot details for Mamma Mia. Here we go again. This is your chance to maybe mute your computer audio, come back in 20 minutes. If you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, wherever you like to listen to the show, you can use the handy dandy time index in the show notes to skip ahead to plugs as needed. You won't want to miss those. We got some stuff we want to put on your radar, so come on back around for that. But guys, spoilers are officially fair game, and let's start with Cher and the Fernando number, all that stuff. Did that work for you, Bill? I see you throwing your head back.
Fuck yes. Oh,
yeah?
Fuck did that work.
Tell me about that.
Okay. Now, there's no other reason for Andy Garcia to be in the film but for Cher to sing.
Exactly.
Fernando. We know that. But think of great movie musicals. There's no reason there's rain and singing in the rain just to get that song in. You know, it's the cheesiest bit of movie musical making at its hilt, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's when you get to Fernando, it is such a simple scene. You know, it's an old broad walking down a banister. This guy's coming towards her. She eventually comes towards him. They do a bit of a tango, and then fireworks go off. There's very little to the screen. The way it is framed, it is magic. And I really do think that, I am not the biggest ABBA fan in the world. I think they have some absolutely great singles and some songs like Money, 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 where I'd rather shoot myself in the face, than listen to them.
Wow.
But when they go south for me. Mm-hmm. But you have, I don't think when you do have a catalog that has songs as layered and as amazing as Dancing Queen or Knowing Me, Knowing You, there's a lot to recommend for them. But they also have their plops. The way that song is structured in the movie. For the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds, Fernando is the best song ever written. I absolutely loved that moment in the film. And it's contrived, and I didn't care a bit. And it was the only moment, and again, I saw it on an opening night, it was the only moment in the theater of a very enthusiastic crowd when you had applause at the end of it. So it's contrived. I mean, if you throw at me that you didn't like it because it was so contrived, I'm not going to disagree with you, but it was glorious in being a gimmick. And, we're getting a Cher album of all ABBA songs. That's gay gold. So I will defend and love that one sequence of the film till the day I die. I absolutely loved it.
How about the rest of you guys?
Well, contrived is one word, but don't get me wrong. I think she sings the song wonderfully. I like the way she performs the song in the movie. The problem is,
it sounds like the way it is in the movie. It sounds like it was written for her.
The problem is, I was distracted from the performance by what the fuck is this woman doing there? She, he's in the movie. He just kind of walks around menacingly and appears every once in a while. Has no fucking tie to the script whatsoever. And then she shows up. Now, she's a woman who disowned her daughter because she was pregnant with the star of this movie, right? Or the lead character of this movie. All that heartache, that had happened through the first two movies. At the end, she shows up and sings a song and everyone's shooting fireworks off her. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Are we in Bizarro land?
But Jim,
it just seems so atonal. It didn't make any sense at all.
But that makes it the best kind of party, little girl.
I love your Cher Elvis.
The problem is that I think the character in the movie and the way they could have done so much more with that character and made it. There was no emotional weight to her at all. And it was, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. And the fact that they shoehorned her in like that, to me, detracts from the performance that she put in. It took all emotional weight away from the performance. And she's not and none of the stuff she's singing about we know anything about. It's just it was introduced literally.
That'll be the third movie.
It'd be introduced literally 12 seconds before she started singing about it. So I don't know. It was weird.
So Jim, would it have made it better? Because we're in spoilers. So Donna died about a year ago. Would it have made it better if Donna's death is what brought Cher to the island with the daughter?
Something to tie her to the story. I don't even know. Some random person invited her, right? Is that what happened?
That was Sky who invited her.
Sky invited her.
Yeah, it was Sky.
So some random person.
Some guy who really wasn't in the movie for the whole middle 3/4 of the movie. But yeah, I don't know. It was very, I guess I can't watch this movie for any kind of story beat. This movie seemed to kind of crap all over itself right at that moment.
Oh, did I see the same movie you guys did?
Yep, we did.
Oh.
So Fernando is actually probably my favorite ABBA song, mainly because they were my gateway for learning about ABBA. I have one of my besties is named Fernando, and so we would put this on in the background and he'd be like, "Oh, cut that shit off." And for the longest time, it was just a song we used to fuck with him, and somewhere along the way I'm I actually kind of like this song. I know, and it's one of the more recognizable ABBA songs that isn't a pun, because they have a lot of kind of pun or play on word style song names. So that you've got to get this person named Fernando into the script somewhere where you can get this song. And so I think I get why they did what they did, because there wasn't a Fernando in the first one, so they had to invent one and put him in. I don't think it was very gracefully done. I wish that they had included the Cher character maybe earlier, or cut her entirely. Here's me turning in my gay card. I wasn't as big a fan of her vocal rendition of the song either. Just because I know that this is what she's known for, but it was just kind of a croaky version of that song. Which I know that's kind of Cher's vocal range.
Now we're getting into musical taste again.
I'm glad. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, Bill. And I do think that the actual shot where the two of them hold hands and the fireworks go off is absolutely glorious and beautiful. It's just, I didn't feel an emotional connection to it because it was a beautiful scene that just sort of appeared on screen. And I think that, and again, this goes to my issues with the film. It would not have been hard with, they're doing this parallel story structure through the movie. And one of the parallel structures has to do with mothers and relationships. If you had brought Cher to the island earlier and she was kind of clashing with the Amanda Seyfried's character, and there's ways that you could have done that in some way, shape, or form that would have tied her more to the story, to the point where when she actually has that sequence, as I'm watching it, I'm not thinking oh my gosh, what's her name? Donna's mother is having this emotional reaction. I'm thinking, going oh, Cher's on screen now. I always saw her as Cher on screen, and granted, it's because she's fucking Cher, but at the same time, it's because I didn't have enough time with that character to divorce myself of the fact that she's Cher and not the character. If that makes sense.
At the same token, because she is such a known personality in that context, I thought the sparing use of her was sensible. You could have had too much, and
yeah,
that would have been. I would rather have had what effectively is a cameo than an extended storyline with her.
Yeah, I just wish they had kind of woven her backstory in a little bit more into the story. I know they didn't touch on it really in the first movie. Yeah. I don't even remember them mentioning.
Yeah, I don't even remember anything about.
That.
I mean, they could have pulled spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp. They could have used the de-aging Snapchat filter and made a young Cher in a flashback.
Right.
At least that would have helped. But I do have to say, I did have some issue with the whole Cher thing, and I think part of it is because she wasn't tied very well to the story. She just kind of shows up, but like, I don't know. It worked for me overall.
It was probably the most effective stunt casting we might see this year.
Yeah,
I they
agree.
had her in the marketing. She was out there in the marketing, and
right.
people were like, oh, I got to see this now, right? So that's effective. I mean, that's really effective.
And I got to tell you, for me, like, I knew the Cher thing was coming the whole movie. Because I'm like, she's going to be here at the end. So in a way, it actually, like, in parts of the movie that kind of dragged on, it kept me connected because I'm like, all right. This is slow, but like motherfucking Cher's coming. Like, come on. And so was it cheesy? Fuck yes. Was it schmaltzy? Fuck yes. But I enjoyed it. And even though the song is a little croaky, you know, it's got the customary Cher whoa, like throughout the whole. Every time she says Fernando, like it makes me laugh. I don't know. I think it worked really well. And then the performance at the end of the movie after the main story wraps. Where it's sort of like the stage production where like everybody comes out in their different roles. I actually thought she was awesome in that too. Again, I mean, it's sort of outside the main story, but I thought she was a huge fun part of that performance. So I know people you either love her in this film or you hate her in this film. I guess I'm kind of in the middle. But I appreciate what they did with Cher.
One thing that was interesting about this movie that I had a bit of a turnaround at the end on one element of it. For 90% of this movie, I found myself wishing that this was just a straight prequel, because I always found myself, whenever they cut back to, I'm a little higher on Amanda Seyfried than you are, Bill. But comparing her story arc versus the one with Lily James, every time they cut over to Lily James and she's meeting kind of the young guys, and even though it's
happy-go-lucky,
it was very fun and very well performed and very well put together. And we lost Bill. Oh no,
he'll be back.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Yeah,
he got mad at us because we didn't like.
No, flip the table. No, he didn't. He didn't listen. While he's getting back on. But yeah, so I wanted to see like the prequel stuff more. And whenever they cut back over to seeing like, oh, Pierce Brosnan is like hands on Amanda Seyfried's shoulder and they're looking sad at each other and doing a little partial song like that, it mostly did not connect with me until the final moment where like you have this, we're in spoilers now, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this like where the two storylines converge at the like kind of baptism type thing
chapel.
In the church. And then you see the Meryl Streep, like kind of the Lily James character morph into Meryl Streep, and you get this really touching song about motherhood. Like that worked so remarkably well. That was a very touching moment, and it only worked because you had the two parallel stories working. Like so, I found myself appreciating the sequences that I didn't enjoy as much, like watching them in real time, because I knew that they were necessary to bring us to that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's talk about that moment at the chapel where kind of Meryl Streep's character Donna appears from the dead to join the baptism of the baby or whatever at the end. I love Meryl Streep. I thought I had heard that she wasn't in this movie at one point, and she wasn't going to be in this movie. So, and I heard just before the movie that, oh yeah, I guess she is in it at some point. And then, I don't know. The whole time she's doing her thing in the chapel there, and it's a touching scene. I'm like, gee, I wonder if they like just got her on set for one. They could only get her for one day. Because this seems like they had to make, they probably wonder what kind of special arrangements they had to make. And here I am thinking about all this shit instead of being drawn into the moment of the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's my fault probably. But yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I didn't have any real issues with it. It seemed, a little familiar in terms of the way they handle that, like that's been done but it was still touching because they ended it was great because it was a kind of a bookend thing. They ended the first movie in that location, and they ended this movie in that location too. So it had some kind of resonance with the first movie, which I liked.
And both storylines go exactly to that point. And so, like, where there's a lot of things that are very slapdash about this film, if I'm looking at the trajectory of the stories, I think that feels very purposeful, especially looking back on it, having seen the whole thing instead of just watching in real time. Like, I think that there were some definite planned decisions. Like, we need to move the characters here. We need to get them there so they can have those things. And that's not a bad thing. I actually felt like I got some of the emotional weight from that scene that I maybe didn't get from some of the other scenes. And again, it only works because of that structure. So I actually like that sequence.
Can I talk about a musical sequence I hated though?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
One of Us, which was in the beginning, the duet between Amanda Seyfried and the
Dominic West?
Dominic Cooper. Yeah.
Dominic Cooper.
That was like completely charisma free. I mean, it was, and it comes early in the film. I thought, oh shit, we're in for it. And it seemed to me that was a really odd choice for the first full musical number in the film. I know Dominic Cooper can act. I saw Preacher 2 nights ago. It was awful.
That was strange.
And
the other one I thought
What
would have made it better is if it were like two popsicle stick puppets like singing against each other.
Especially Dominic would have been less wooden. Like, I thought Amanda Seyfried was fine in that scene. I found myself going like I don't remember disliking Dominic Cooper's singing voice in the first one. I found myself like taken out of the movie during that sequence and going like, he's really not that good, is he? Was he bad in the first one? And I found myself thinking about his musical number in the first one, trying to remember if he was bad or if he's gotten worse over time. And again, that's hard when you're trying to like get invested in this story of like, you know, they're pulled across in different locations and career paths and things like that. And won't they get back together? And all you can think about is just like, God, could this have been a text message instead? Singing is not working for me.
Well, does it? Oh, go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
I was just going to say that the only other musical sequence I thought was I just thought the song choice was a little weird, was Knowing Me, Knowing You, because to me that song, which is one of my favorites of theirs, that seems to be a song that comes from a couple that's been together for a long, long time. And, you know, how long were young Donna and young Pierce Brosnan together? You know, that was, I thought that was a strange choice that was completely anchored around like maybe one or two lyrical lines for its inclusion, but still a great song.
I thought that first number, One of Us, was going to be there. Like, it seemed like they were basically breaking up. I thought this movie was starting with them breaking up, and they were going to be broken up for the whole movie and maybe not get back together. To me, that would have been a braver choice than having them, you know, come back together later. So,
well, and that was my question, because for me, I kind of felt like we spent this whole movie like, you know, her learning about her mom and how she did it all by herself and how that's empowering her and like beefing up her agency to be a single mom and be a business owner. And then Dominic Cooper just shows up at the end and everything's going to be okay. She's got her man back. Like, doesn't that steal away from like the power of 95% of the story?
Maybe, especially because neither of the characters, I guess maybe he did a little bit, like showed a lot of agency in restoring that relationship. It literally was, they're having this fight and they've got to figure things out. And then the next time aside from her doing a couple of lines about like, I don't know how I'm going to do this without Sky. There's a couple, like you see him just appear like, oh, I'm going to go on the boat and go back with you guys. Like just out of nowhere. And then he does, and that's it. Like, so there's no agency for her. he has to make this decision, which he does off screen, and then he comes back into the story and says, "Let's be back together." Which, again, like, I don't need like something too complex there, but we've already established that these characters gave us nothing in that One of Us musical line, so then like the whole "will they, won't they" became a "why should they" for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about the knowing me, knowing you, and that whole segment of kind of the middle of the movie where young Donna is kind of finding herself, I guess we could say. And look, I'm not doing any slut shaming whatsoever here, but man, she had a great summer that summer. Like, she was. Well, I think she was in Paris. She was, on yachts, and she was having a really great summer.
Well, I think that's what we saw with the Lily James character, with how you saw how that was interpreted. You do see Donna fall in love. It's just not with another man. And, whether it is the location or the location into the daughter, it's a love story, just, where the men are just secondary to it. I thought that was a nice touch.
And I like that the film didn't, like, unless I'm missing a scene, but like I don't really remember any like kind of slut shamey moments. Like, it really was like, I mean, if you think about it, like it would have been very, very easy for this movie to do some pretty gross things with the fact that she basically had 3 sexual partners in a short period of time.
Especially with friends, especially with the 2 friends as snarky as they were. They could
but it
could have been a lot there.
It didn't become that. And it's one of those things where like I also have to think about like probably like us, and not specifically like the 4 of us, but just kind of like the bear community in general. Like, there's probably people who are like, did like, Bear Week, P-Town, whatever, like that, and we're like 3 sexual partners. I did that before brunch. So I think like our community is probably going to be a little more open to the idea of, what happened. I do realize that there's probably some people from much more puritanical backgrounds who
I wonder what they thought.
Probably a scandalous thing. And the fact that it wasn't presented as such, I think is a good way for the film to sort of like get ahead of that. So I like the way they handled that.
I wish one thing though had been handled better in this movie, and it is the Greek like passport dude and Stellan Skarsgård. I think they should have ended up like dancing together at the end party or something.
Did you stay through the credits?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So the little stinger thing.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm like, oh my god, missed opportunity. Like, I'm surprised they wussed out and didn't do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously played his cards in that stinger. We saw it, but I thought this movie, one of the main characters was either gay or bisexual. Yes.
Well, the Colin Firth character.
Yeah. Do we get any reference to that in this movie?
Got Zip
at
in this
all?
one.
No,
yeah,
I mean, we see him flamboyantly dancing on the boat, but that's about it.
Yeah, we got a few hints here and there, but and I was kind of surprised they buried that a little bit, especially since there's an opportunity there because he had a relationship with Donna. It'd been nice to see maybe questioning himself or something, but yeah, we got nothing there. I mean, that's just the choice in the movie, but we got much more in the first movie where he basically comes out and tells people that what he is, but nothing here. So that was kind of strange.
Well, is what it is, I guess.
One other quick nice touch. Can I just mention? I loved seeing a differently abled person as part of the choreography.
Yes,
and
that was
the
so
Waterloo
awesome.
number. I absolutely loved seeing that, and being the center of it.
Yes, and the entire dance ensemble, even though that it was very Greek based, and you did have a lot of people who sort of had like a kind of a Greek background or look to them, you also saw a lot of different people in whatever scene, of all sorts of different genders and ages and colors. And that's every sequence, like the French waiters and that, or on the boats. Like it was one of those things where they just were like, hey, you know what? Let's show a tapestry of people. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, could have used more
something
Chevy.
else. Something else that was cool for me. You mentioned the Waterloo number. I fucking hate Waterloo. I really do. This movie made me like it. Like it put it into context for me that I guess I could wrap my brain around. And now I kind of enjoy it instead of fucking hating it. So that's good, right?
Yes.
Look for two of the ABBA guys are in the movie in bit roles.
Yeah.
One of them is the cafe, the piano guy in the cafe during Waterloo, I think. Yep. And then the other guy, and I didn't notice it, but I got it in the credits, was the college professor at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch that one. I caught
during
the piano, but I didn't catch that.
Yeah, during I Kiss the Teacher.
Yeah. Yep. Which I thought was kind of one of the weaker numbers in the movie as well. I didn't like that one as much as some of the other ones, but again, it's preference, right? With this music, I mean, you like some of their songs, and some of them are you know.
Indeed. Well, guys, it is that time to move on to some plugs, I think, especially because I know it's getting kind of late in the evening for some folks who are joining us. This is the wonderful part of the show where we tell you about some things we are excited about. We put them on your radar. Bill, of course, we want to hear whatever it is you may be recommending this week. But could you also please as well let our listeners know who love hearing you speak so passionately about things, where else they can tune into you and your brethren?
Okay, well, again, if you were not aware of this, I am the host of the Comic Book Bears podcast, which has been going on since 2012. I have 2 co-hosts currently. We had more in the past, but we were down to 3. I don't know why that matters, but I'm just saying it. And we are a collection of hairy, heavy homos who read comic books. But again, you do not have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in. And you can catch me there. We've had some issues trying to get together because life. So unfortunately, we're roughly a monthly podcast right now. Hopefully by the fall, we can get back to a release schedule with a bit more regularity. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. If you want to reach out to me myself, I'm Bill Zanowitz on Twitter, but I'm never there. So go to Facebook. And that's where, if you want to touch base with me, that's probably the best route. And so now I can move on to the plug.
Absolutely.
Plug? Okay, great. I decided not to provide something that was a comic book or a movie. I'm going to recommend another podcast. And the podcast I'm going to recommend is something called Broken Broadway. It's about flop Broadway musicals. It's hosted by Patrick J. Riley, who has another podcast called We Wrote a Musical, about a musical that he co-wrote and that's interesting to hear the evolution and their efforts in trying to get some notoriety for that. But with this podcast, Broken Broadway, they cover bomb musicals, whether it's Sideshow or Mac and Mabel. There's a wonderful episode on All American, which was one of Neil Simon's first efforts as a book writer. And what's really great about the podcast is it doesn't mire itself in why it was a flop. It also pays as much attention about what worked in the show and what was promising about the show. And the host, Patrick, he's remarkably knowledgeable. And even if Broadway isn't, and stage musicals aren't necessarily your thing, I think, especially with a half hour 25 minute format, I think that some people that would enjoy this where they might not necessarily consider material like that within their wheelhouse. And I really enjoyed it. Again, it's called Broken Broadway, and you can get that on iTunes.
Awesome. It sounds like, for people like me who only have maybe a passing knowledge of Broadway, that it could be very educational, you know what I mean, to learn about some of these shows that like never made it. And what, so yeah, I'm definitely going to add that to my list and check it out.
And I got to say, because if you're weighing it as a Broadway bomb, I wouldn't be surprised if Chess makes an appearance at some point.
Because that didn't do so well at Broadway. Yeah.
ABBA. Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome, Bill. Thank you so much. Will, what about you?
Yeah, so mine's a movie that people should go see, and it's called Eighth Grade, and you should see it because it's quite good. It's a new film written and directed by Bo Burnham. This is, I think, his first film to direct, and I believe his first to write. And it stars this 13-year-old girl playing a 13-year-old girl who's just going through like what it's like to be an 8th grader and having to deal with the fact that everything feels so big and end of the world and just disastrous, and just all of the social pressures plus the social media stuff that kids have to go through. It is a remarkably well done film. One of those films that truly captures like how awkward that particular age is in a very timeless way. Like, I think especially if you are like a younger female, you'll definitely be able to directly see the things that Kaylee goes through as things that you go through. But I think anyone that just remembers middle school as being like weird and uncomfortable and having just to deal with like all of that time of change in our lives, I think there's a lot that you can relate to. Plus, it's a remarkably well put together and well acted film. It's called 8th Grade. It's going through kind of cinemas now and starting to make those more and more screens. So 100% should go check it out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's here yet. Well, it's one that I want to check out. Another one I didn't get to see at South by Southwest, and it was there. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely see that one.
Muy excelente. Jim, what have you got this week?
I went back and watched a documentary that I had missed a couple of years ago called Tab Hunter Confidential. This one's on Netflix right now. So anybody who has a Netflix account or has access to a Netflix account should check this out. This is about Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was an actor, performer, singer back in the 50s and 60s, mostly where he was very popular. He was a male sex symbol, one of these like leading man type guy, James Dean type of cool, but he had those looks that got him a lot of roles in movies, made it really big in the kind of the in those Hollywood days. And he also was gay. And in that time, you did not admit that you were gay. You did not come out. You did not do anything that might cast you in a light as being gay. There was a lot going on, of course, with gay Hollywood, as we now know. But at the time, this movie is about the toll that not just being gay in Hollywood took on him, but the toll that just trying to maintain, his image in Hollywood took on him. He had a relationship with Anthony Perkins from Psycho. They were an item together at one time, and that was a pretty sad storyline. I really dug this documentary about Tab Hunter, and it kind of shows like how he's now kind of withdrew from Hollywood. I think some of the last movies he did were with John Waters. We're with John Waters' movie Lust in the Dust and Polyester. So yeah, if you get a chance, if you got Netflix, this is one I recommend strongly to people who are interested in movies, and also interested in maybe what it was like to be gay in Hollywood at a time where it wasn't cool. Okay, Bill. I did not know that, but George Takei is in the movie. He doesn't say what happened.
Whoa. We probably want to be careful what we say,
But co-sign the pick. It's a great film about like what it is to be gay in Hollywood, both kind of in and out of the closet, just all of that stuff. So really good pick, especially with, the subject, Tab Hunter himself. He just passed away 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
So.
July 8th. So so very timely as well.
Right. And the title of the film, Confidential, it also touches into the climate that existed with these gossip magazines. And that's a very important element about why he was closeted, and
Yep.
the whole bastion of actors from around that time were in the same bracket. Most notably Rock Hudson, and it's a really effective documentary. I definitely recommend it too.
All right. Excellent. Well, sounds like a good pick. For me, I just want to put something on everyone's radar that I think, are going to be talking about next week, which is Mission Impossible Fallout is coming out this weekend. I'm not sure if we'll pair something else with it or do some movie news. We'll figure it out. But if you are a fan of the Mission Impossible films, got another one coming your way, be sure to see it this weekend. Join us next week for the conversation. Guys, it has been so much fun hanging out with you all, talking movies. Bill, it's been a real treat having you on the show with us. It was 80% comic book movie free discussion.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Bill, stepping out of the comic book zone so much? Are you
I absolutely love it because I'm a huge film fan. Outside, it's just because it has Marvel Studios or DC Extended Universe in front of it, I do see other movies, So, as somebody who has an intense love for, classic films like things from the Hal Roach Studios, and my all-time favorite actor is Cary Grant. I love the particularly psychologically fraught films of the 70s. There's a lot of stuff I love. Beach Party movies, and just to have the opportunity to talk about that, and especially with guys as friendly and as accommodating as you three, it's just wonderful.
Aww.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Bill, to be able to look at you. And we even got two of you tonight, so that was double as good.
Split. Yeah.
Hold on, just thinking about that. Okay, I'm back.
Well, Bill, it was such a treat, and we're already looking forward to the next time already. So if there's another movie you want to join us for, please let us know, and we'll pencil you in for Aquaman maybe, and we'll see what happens. But it's been a blast. I want to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us on the show live tonight. Mark and Bobby, this is the romper room part of the show Jim always rolls his eyes at. Steve and Jordan and everybody else. It was great having you guys in the chat. We didn't quite get to all the comments today. It was a pretty lively discussion. Anytime share is part of the equation, that's bound to happen. But we love you guys. We adore you. Thanks so much for supporting the show year after year. Hard to believe this was episode 289. We are on the march to 300. Looking forward to that. Crazy, right? But
slow down.
This is my favorite thing to do. One of my favorite things to do every week.
You're going to hit 300 before the end of the year. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. Yeah. So,
and we're trying to figure out, like, if any Bill or any listeners, if anyone has any good ideas for like things that we can do as part of our 300th show extravaganza. The only idea that we've come up with so far is maybe reviewing 300. Like that's the first thing that came to mind. But like, I'm sure there's some like great ideas floating out there.
There's better ideas out there.
Float them our way.
I have an idea. What's
for
that?
Yeah.
Go to the highest grossing films, regular box office, worldwide, and adjusted for inflation, and review the 300th film on those lists.
Oh, I like that.
That's a thought.
I like that. Gosh, I
Could
wonder
be
what
interesting.
300th film. Yeah, I'm just trying to think like without even, because you always know kind of like what's in the top 10 or what's in the top few. But yeah,
what's number 300? Yeah,
maybe what we do is we review 300 to get like a lot of people coming in, and then we'll pick that 300th movie on the list, which may be something no one's ever heard of and can be a nice surprise for people.
We could at least talk about those and at least mention what they are. That would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, it's been a blast, but we are out for the week. Bill, thanks again so much for joining us, and we'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.